Hello everyone, this is Logan59XP here for the first stream of 2025. I intended to do a Smash stream as the first stream of 2025, probably sometime yesterday or something like that, but I'm currently in the process of waiting for a new capture card to come in, so we're probably going to wait until that happens. I do have another capture card I can use, but I'm probably just going to wait for the other one. So once that comes in, then we'll do a Smash stream, which should be sometime in the next week, hopefully, but the guy I bought the card from on eBay is frankly taking his sweet time sending it out. It's been like 5 days. He made the label, but it hasn't even been sent out yet. So I sent him a message the other day. It's like, hey, I bought this card, like 4 or 5 days ago, and it still hasn't been shipped out yet. Just kind of wondering, what's kind of going on with that. Haven't gotten a response yet. If I don't hear anything from him over the next day or so, then I'll probably just cancel the order or get eBay involved or whatever, and then I'll just buy from someone else. But that's a whole other thing that's not really relevant to this. Anyways, point is, we're here today for the Xbox Developer Direct. This has been kind of a tradition that Microsoft has done for the last couple of years. It started in 2023. I was not able to stream the 2023, the initial version of this, because I was in Hawaii when this happened. In fact, it was on the day we were leaving. So like as we were like, kind of like about to leave for the plane to go home, that's pretty much when the Direct happened. So I wasn't able to stream it, but I did stream the 2024 Developer Direct, and of course we are here today to stream the 2025 Direct. Now, in terms of what's supposed to be here, so one thing that makes these Developer Directs different from, say, Nintendo Directs or State of Plays is that they really only focus on a couple of games. And in some respects, that's a good thing, because it means that there isn't a lot of quote-unquote filler. That's something that people definitely like to accuse of both State of Play and Directs, is how, like, you're really only there for, like, 2 or 3 things, but they have to have, like, 30 minutes worth of other stuff, to fill the presentation. But with these events, Microsoft has opted to basically just have an in-depth look at a handful of games, all of them being first-party mostly. So in a way, I kind of would like to see like a Nintendo Direct that really was like that. I mean, imagine a Nintendo Direct that was really a Nintendo Direct, because, that's the whole reason why we show up to those darn things in the first place. It's basically, sitting through 30 minutes of, random third-party games and indie ports, and then finally we get, first-party stuff. The stuff we're actually here for. I mean, I'm not to completely discredit third parties and indies and stuff, of course. I'm not saying that they don't matter. It's just, like, come on. Like, we go to a Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo stuff. Same for a State of Play. No one goes to a State of Play for third-party games. Well, okay. They probably, simply by the nature of the fact that PlayStation gets all the third-party games and they all actually look good because they actually have good hardware, it does matter more. But you get my point. People come to these, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo events for the Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo games first. Is my main point. But anyways, so the games that are supposed to be in this event, we're going to see Doom the Dark Ages. That's kind of the main thing I'm looking forward to seeing more of. And also we're going to see that new game from Compulsion Games that has like the Spider-Verse like, lowering frame rate thing. I know there's a name for that, like staggered animation or whatever. I know there's like an official term for what like the Spider-Verse frame rate thing is called. But like, yeah, that game, the one they're showing the concept for on screen right now. That game. Then there's one other game I don't know the name of, and then there's supposed to be a surprise game. But supposedly there's going to be another surprise game on top of that, which isn't unheard of, because in the last Developer Direct from last year, we had a surprise game from Square Enix, I believe. So supposedly this surprise game, whatever one it ends up being, whether it's the surprise game that they already said is going to be here, or the surprise game that's going to be in addition to the other surprise game. Point is, supposedly there's going to be a reveal of a new game, keyword new, so not a port or a remaster, a new game from a big legendary Japanese franchise. So of course people have thought Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, the one I'm hoping for is Persona 6. Although Persona didn't become like really mainstream until Persona 5, so you know, we'll see about that. But yeah. I mean, Persona 6 being here would make sense because, of course, Atlus has announced a lot of their recent games at Xbox events. You know, we had the Persona 3, 4, 5 ports at an Xbox event, and then we had Tactica, Reload, and Metaphor all at the 2023 Xbox event in June. So it wouldn't be surprising at all to see an Atlus or even just a Sega game in general here, but... So yeah, but with that being said, let's just go ahead and get into this sucker. Of course, that goes without saying. That also goes without saying. This is a Microsoft presentation in 2025. That's like their whole thing, is everything is on Game Pass, or at least most of it is. Yeah, Xbox Play Anywhere. You know, Xbox Play Anywhere isn't really talked about anymore. That used to be a big thing back in like 2016, 2017. It's still around. It's a very useful feature, but... Ooh, even putting up the PEGI logos. Yeah, all the logos for all the regions. Zero, of course. So yeah, there's id right there. Again, supposedly there's going to be a 5th game, but we'll see. You know, I wonder why they don't do more of these. Like, this could be their Nintendo Direct. Because this basically is their Nintendo Direct, right? Like, obviously they still do the big Xbox game showcases, which is basically their E3s. Like, they still do those every, like, June/July. Which is great, of course, but... These are basically the closest thing they have to a regular, like, Direct, but they only do them in January for some reason. They don't do them, like, in April or September, November. Like, they always just do them in January. So it's basically January, and then there's the June presentation, and that's it. Whereas, like, you know, Nintendo has 3 events with, you know, February, June, and September most of the time. Xbox Games Publishing, so they're getting right into this. This is a published title, so that's very notable. So it's very, very notable to point out that it's published by Microsoft. So it might not be your standard third-party game. Okay. People talked about this. People were talking about Ninja Gaiden. I assume this is Ninja Gaiden 4. Like a sequel to like the 3D entries from like the early 2010s. There hasn't been a new Ninja Gaiden game in a long time. At least a 3D entry. So I assume that's what this is. Koei Tecmo, of course. And Team Ninja.
Several years ago, the Dark Dragon, youngest of the divine dragon gods, wreaked havoc across the world. The plot was ultimately thwarted through the efforts of a sole ninja. However, the Dark Dragon's husk remained, and from this husk...
Yeah, so yeah, this is definitely Ninja Gaiden.
The abandoned Tokyo continues.
Yeah, yep, it's Ninja Gaiden, alright. For sure.
Infiltrated the facility.
Now, since this is being published by... Ooh, that just made things interesting. You don't flash that logo lightly. Ooh. Now, is this you want to know what this looks like? This looks like Ghost Runner. Like, both the aesthetic and, like, some of the mechanics look like Ghost Runner. I mean, obviously, Ghost Runner is first person, and it's more of a parkour game than this is, but... The aesthetic definitely looks like Ghost Runner, even though Ghost Runner is made by an American. Actually, no, I don't even know what studio makes it. I know it's published by 505 Games, but I don't actually know what the developer themselves actually are from. They might be from Europe. I could be wrong about that, though. Anyways, so is this gonna be a Star Fox Zero type scenario where it's like a co-development type thing, or a Bloodborne where it's a co-development type thing? I mean, they didn't make Bloodborne obviously, but like, you know, Bloodborne was, people call Bloodborne a FromSoft game, and it is a FromSoft game, but it's a FromSoft and like Sony Japan Studios game in the same way that Star Fox Zero is a first-party Nintendo title, but it's also a Platinum Games title because they co-developed it with Nintendo internal teams. So is this going to be one of those scenarios where it's Koei Tecmo and Platinum making it? Or is it a Platinum game that they're... Or is it like a Platinum developed game first? But yeah, so Ninja Gaiden 4. So yeah, this was rumored. Okay, then that's cool. That's cool. And they're getting out early, so they're not gonna make so. So if this is the only game you wanted to see, you can leave now. Okay, so it's a collaboration. So I assume it's a co-development deal, like Star Fox Zero or Bloodborne, where it's not strictly one studio and the other one's a support studio. No, it's like a given. It's like it really is a co-development type deal. See, that's gonna get people excited. I mean, you slap Platinum's name on anything and people are gonna get hyped for that. They're kind of like a mini FromSoft. I mean, not in the sense of the games they make, obviously, but in the sense that, like, you put their logo on something and people get hyped, right? You put the FromSoft logo on something, people will get hyped. You put the Platinum logo on something, people are gonna get hyped. You know, even if it's only a co-development type deal. So is this going to be an Xbox exclusive or something? Or an Xbox first type game? Because, of course, Microsoft is famously, for better or for worse, basically transitioning to a third-party publisher. They're not going third-party necessarily in the same way that Sega did, because when Sega went third-party, they left consoles completely. But Microsoft has made it very clear that they're not abandoning console hardware. Like, they've already stated that there's going to be a next-gen Xbox in a few years. So it's more so that they're becoming a publisher rather than going third-party straight up. So, you know, you'll be able to buy their games on PlayStation, but you can still get an Xbox and buy their games on Xbox at the same time. It feels kind of weird, like, what's the point? But if that's the direction they want to go in, then hey. But my main point with that whole thing is essentially, you know, is this game, which is being published by Xbox. So this isn't a game that's just being announced in this direct. No. This is being published by Xbox. So again, does that mean it's going to at least start as an Xbox game and then it'll come to PlayStation later, or will it be multi-plat day one because that's the path they're basically going down? I guess it depends on when development on this game started, because obviously the big multi-plat initiative didn't start until, you know, relatively recently. Like last year, so. This game may be an Xbox and PC day one type deal, then like a couple months later it comes to PlayStation. But this game will most likely come to PlayStation at some point, no matter what, simply because of, again, Microsoft is becoming a third-party publisher, whether you think that's a good thing or not. I hear that music! I know that music! Or was that just a coincidence? Okay, I might have jumped the gun there. I was like, wait, why do I recognize that music? Isn't that from something? Now, of course, we are now living in the era of a Platinum Games without Kamiya. Now, this game was probably in development, obviously, when he was still at the studio, and even then, who knows if he worked on it at all. Windows 11. I mean, this is an Xbox event. You bet your ass are going to be using Windows 11.
ヌエの型を駆使したダイナミックな攻撃によってこれまでから大きく進化した一対他の戦闘を可能にしました。ヌエの型ではこれまでの忍者ガイデンにはない広範囲かつ一撃必殺の攻撃となっており、多勢に無勢の状態が長く続く戦況を一気に覆すことができます。もちろん1対1の戦闘における比率きも健在です。プレイヤー同様、敵もガードや回避をしてくるため緊張感のあるフェアな戦闘を味わうことができます。敵の動きをしっかりと捉えながら一瞬の隙を逃さずに攻撃を仕掛けていくことが重要です。ヌエの方によって忍者ガイデンのアクションの味わいにさらなる進化を感じら
I'm
れ
gonna turn down the volume a bit here, because I think the volume is bleeding into the mic and causing overlap. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I think that'll probably be fine. So, I mean, is it possible that there's another game? Again, the rumors say that there might be another game. I don't know if it's from the same person that said it was going to be Ninja Gaiden. I also don't know who's the person that said it would be Ninja Gaiden either. I don't think it was Nate the Hate. I think he's done Xbox and PlayStation rumors before, but obviously he's most well known for his Nintendo stuff. And of course, after he got that January 16th date bang on for the Switch 2 reveal, I'm sure people are going to be paying way more attention to what he says. Like, I believe he said that there will be a February Direct, which is a little awkward because, of course, we already know there's an April Direct coming for Switch 2, but I think the idea is that, you know, it's supposed to be, you know, the final Switch 1 Direct. You know, they'll announce the last couple of games, which will probably be mostly ports. You know, maybe the elusive Wind Waker and Twilight Princess will finally get revealed. After all this time and after being rumored for like 5-6 years, yeah, I don't know about that. I'm kind of in with Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I feel like they are in that camp of games where it's like, if it was going to happen at this point, it would have happened. It's been rumored since like 2018, 2019, and it still hasn't happened. I mean, obviously, anything's possible. It's totally possible that in February they'll say, hey, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess coming out in like April or May or whatever. And if it is, cool, but I'm done like believing any of that, personally. Not that I'm particularly dying for them on the Switch as is, because I already have the Wii U versions of those games, and they look and run fine on it. They're both 1080p on Wii U. But anyways. Oh, they just straight up say PS5. Okay, there we go. That answers that question. Oh. Okay. Is this what I think it is? No, it is not. I don't know what this is, though. Maybe it's a remaster? Of 3, but didn't they put out a remaster of those games? I don't know. It's Ninja Gaiden something, obviously, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. See, I was gonna say, is this gonna be like is this gonna be a new Dead or Alive game? That's what I thought this was gonna be, and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, he's gonna be playable in it or something. But no, that's not what this is. I think this is a new game? Because it doesn't look like a remaster of any of the old ones, even though, again, I think they did a remaster of, like, the first 3 3D games, like, a few years ago. I think this is just another Ninja Gaiden game. Wait, hold on. Oh, wait, okay, so it is one of the old ones. I think this is a remake. Not a remaster. I think this is a remake. Or at least it's a remake in the same way that Crisis Core Reunion is a remake, where it's technically a remaster, because it technically uses the bones of the original version, but it's a remake in all but name. Because this does not. This is definitely. That's definitely not a 360 game. That is clearly a remake. Also, it's playable right now. It's on Game Pass. Okay, that's a big surprise. I'm sure people are gonna be pretty thrilled with that. Okay, so I'm guessing was that the surprise? But that's a part of the same announcement, kind of. So I'm not sure if that counts. I don't know. It's cool either way. And they've spent a good 15 minutes on this, by the way. This entire 15 minutes so far has just been Ninja Gaiden. So yeah, it's cool Ninja Gaiden is back. There's a remake or a remaster out right now for 2. And they got 4 coming, so yeah. But yeah, so Ninja Gaiden 4 is going to be coming to PS5 as well. Ah, yeah, look, plus bonus. So I think that might have been whatever the surprise game was. It was another Ninja Gaiden thing. So, no Persona 6. I mean, anything's possible, of course, but I'm not going to get my hopes up at that point. I'm going to assume that was the surprise. Was the, hey, look, Ninja Gaiden. There's another Ninja Gaiden thing. And it's out right now, which is cool. So yeah, this is the game that has, like, the Spider-Verse animation. Again, I think there's like decimated animation, I think, is, like, the correct term for it.
We draw inspiration from the landscape to shape mood, drama, and intrigue. For South of Midnight, our third-person action-adventure game, the story and characters bring a folklore deep south to life. This gave us a chance to explore Southern Gothic themes with a dark fantasy twist. So while our protagonist Hazel is at the forefront of our story, it's the macabre elements and larger-than-life creatures that will leave a mark on her journey and growth.
It is really picking up out there. Did you pack everything?
Mama, this ain't my first hurricane. I know what to do.
As long as you didn't forget the...
Flashlights and batteries.
Oh, shoot, we got 5 minutes. Let's go.
Won't be rushed if you didn't.
My guess is they're going to save Doom for the end, because that's, like, the big one of the games that we knew going in. So I'm guessing they're going to talk about this, and they're going to talk about that other game. I don't actually remember what it is. And then they're going to have Doom at the very end. Assuming that there's not another thing they're going to show. And my assumption is that Ninja Gaiden 2 remake remaster, that was the 5th game. That's my guess, at least.
Journey as a typical 19-year-old, but disastrous events will push her into a dark.
See, like there's the decimated animation, where it's deliberately made choppy on purpose.
An ancient magical power that redefines her trajectory in life.
Even though I think the rest of the game is 60. Because I remember they showed this game at the Xbox event in 2023. Like, they showed actual gameplay of the characters walking around and doing stuff. It wasn't just like a CG trailer. And I'm pretty sure it was 60 FPS. Like, the character, when she was walking around, was like the decimated, like, 15 FPS, whatever. But everything around her was 60. So I think this is a 60 FPS game, or at least a game with a 60 FPS mode. I mean, most games on the current generation consoles have at least a 60 FPS mode anyway, but it's still worth noting, because I know there have been a couple of games where people have, like Gotham Knights launched at only 30 FPS. I think there were 1 or 2 other games that were 30 FPS. People are really worried that GTA 6 is going to be 30 FPS, even on PS5 Pro.
Among them is good old Catfish, the storyteller who becomes both the guide and companion to Hazel across the game.
It ain't every day I hear about a new weaver, so did you say? Would you kindly do your weaver thing and help me down?
Meeting Catfish marks the true beginning of Hazel's journey. All of Hazel's
Now that's Windows 10. Like, Koei Tecmo, and not Koei Tecmo, Platinum, because they were showing the Platinum Studios. They were using Windows 11, but this studio is still using Windows 10. That obviously will not last for much longer, though, because, of course, Windows 10's going end of life in October. And obviously a lot of people have a lot of opinions about that. Personally, I think they should make the ESU updates free for consumers. Charge for businesses so you can get them to move off of it, but you should just make the ESU updates free for everyone. Because as it is right now, the ESU updates are going to be, I believe, $30 per computer, and that on its own I actually think is perfectly fine. Like, I think that $30 price tag is honestly perfectly reasonable. The problem is that only gets you 1 year of updates, not the full 3 that the businesses get. Now, granted, businesses have to pay an increasing amount every year, just like it was with Windows 7 when they got ESU updates for businesses. Although this is the first time that ESU updates will be available for consumers. With Windows 7, consumers did not get any ESU updates at all. There was no option. Even if you had a professional or enterprise version, you had to have like a volume license copy of it or whatever to be eligible, I think. So at least Microsoft is giving the consumer some option to stay on Windows 10, even if it's not the full 3 years. You can pay $30 for an extra year, and then once October 2026 rolls around, that's it, assuming they don't change course. Now, Windows 10, despite the fact that it's going to be going end of life in like 9 months, still maintains a large majority of the market share. Now, Windows 11 definitely has a decent amount of market share for sure. It's definitely not Vista or 8 in terms of market share, even though a lot of people like to compare it to them. But Windows 10 is still by far the biggest. I believe Windows 10 is at like 65%, and like Windows 11 is at like 35% or something along those lines last time I checked. So Windows 10 still has like nearly double the market share of Windows 11, even though we're this close to the end of life date. Which is why I feel like, with the market share combined with the fact that there will be a lot of computers that won't support it, won't support Windows 11, that is, they really should just make the just say screw and make the ESU updates free. Like, now, I'm not asking them to extend it after that point, but they should just make all 3 years free for consumers. You know, basically pull a Windows XP, because Windows XP was supposed to go end of life in 2011, following the traditional 10-year life cycle of 5 years mainstream, 5 years extended, which Microsoft doesn't really do anymore, because now they have like the modern life cycle policy where it works differently. But essentially, Windows 10 is more or less getting that 10 years of support, because, you know, it came out originally in July of 2015, which means that, yes, this year, Windows 10 will be 10 years old, which will probably feel weird to some people who still feel like it's relatively new, but that's how long it really has been. And October 2025 is the official end-of-life date for most users, so that's 10 years. So even if it's not mainstream extended necessarily, it's still that in practice. But again, Windows XP, because of how popular it was, right? You know, Windows XP was everywhere. And I'm biased saying that because I grew up on Windows XP in the 2000s. So I'm biased in saying that. But Windows XP, every computer had Windows XP on it. Every computer. And no one had Windows Vista. I know one person that had Windows Vista, like my cousins, they had a computer that had Vista, but everyone else just hung on to XP for the longest. And then it wasn't until like 2011 or so that I started to see Windows 7 really become a thing. And even then, people were still holding on to XP up until that 2014 deadline. Like, I remember that there was a bunch of school computers in my middle school. They were like all Windows XP. All the computers in the school were like Windows XP for the most part. At least all the ones that we got to use. Like the computer lab and the other computers that were just in the classroom and stuff. You know? They were all Windows XP all the way up until 2014, when I graduated, and also like right after the end of life period happened. I'm sure they upgraded sometime in 2015 or whatever, but I don't actually know, of course, because I wasn't there in 2015. My main point is Windows XP. It was supposed to go end of life in 2011, but because it was so popular and people held on to it, they extended it to 2014. And unofficially, you could go up to 2019 with the POS updates, but that's a whole other thing. But for most people, 2014 was the deadline, which gave Windows XP like 13 years of support. 13, 14 years. So I think they should, and because Windows 10 is essentially the new Windows XP. Like, I know people would have said the same thing for 7, but truth of the matter is, people didn't really hold on to 7 that much. most people moved off of 7 relatively quickly after it went end of life. But Windows 10 has way more market share than 7, I think, ever did. And that's not just me saying that. If you go on like that one website, I think it's Stat Counter, I think is what it's called, and you look at like, you know, Windows OS market share from like 2009, which is the furthest back it goes, up until 2025, you'll see that like Windows XP ruled the freaking world for so long, and then it started to go down, and it wasn't until 2011 that Windows 7 passed it. And then, but it still held a decent amount of market share for years afterwards. It was still at like 11% market share, I think, by the time it was killed in 2014. And Windows 7, while it did well, it didn't do as well as XP or 7. Or sorry, or not 7. Or okay, April 8th. Okay. Oh my god, I'm getting thrown off right now. But my point is, if you look at that chart, you know, Windows XP was like 80% market share at one point. Windows 10 was 80% market share at one point, and then Windows 7 was like 60% or something. You know, point is, it was popular, obviously, but it wasn't nearly as dominant. It wasn't on like every computer the same way that XP was back then, or 10 is, you know, today, or was a few years ago. Again, not to say that 7 was nowhere, but it wasn't as ever present. And I think a part of the reason for that is simply because, you know, Windows 10 was that main version of Windows for so long. You know, it was the main version of Windows for like 6 years. And XP was also the main version for like 6 years. Because Vista didn't come out until like early 2007. So, you know, whereas like, you know, Windows 7 was only the main version for like a couple of years, you know, even though most people skipped 8, you know? So anyways, yeah, I don't know what this game is. I can tell you one thing, though, based off the footage. The resolution is not particularly inspiring. That resolution, even though, because this is a 4K stream, right? That is a low resolution. Hey, look, it's Discord. At least I think that's Discord. It could be Slack or whatever, but I think that's Discord that was on that monitor.
My job the following week and joined the team without hesitation, because I believe that in video games, success always starts with a strong creative vision. And we had that defined by 3 core elements. A story with great emotional depth, gameplay that innovates on the...
You know what's funny? This UI looks like it looks inspired by Metaphor, even though it almost certainly isn't. Because of course Metaphor like was in development alongside this game, so there's no way that it has any inspiration from it. But the UI looks kind of like it.
This too is your legacy.
Core to every great RPG is a compelling story, and Guillaume and I spent 4 years intensively developing and refining ours, and that started with the hook. 67 years ago, a massive slumbering paintress...
I think this game was also at one of the Xbox events. I recognize some of the characters.
Everyone who has passed that age is erased. Every year that number ticks down, and everyone dies younger and younger. Expeditions depart to kill the paintress, determined to fight until their final breath, but none have ever returned. Our story follows Expedition 33.
Expeditioners, we honor your dedication.
Guillaume and I knew early on that we didn't want to focus on good versus evil. What's interesting to us are people who, yes, are flawed, but who care deeply about each other. And conflicts arise because they have different perspectives on what needs to be done.
I'm sorry about Alia.
We wanted our story to feel dark and mature, with adult characters who feel like real people with real experiences.
I'm always missing something that everyone else just gets.
The heart of the story is about overcoming an existential threat while struggling with loss and grief. And it's rooted in the characters' relationships, both to each other and to themselves.
What are we gonna do, huh? Tell me. What are we gonna do?
Oh, look at the fizzling on her hair.
Stay hopeful or make peace.
Again, that doesn't really bode well for resolution. Although I think those might be pre-rendered cutscenes.
These questions are deeply
Well, then again, if it was a pre-rendered cutscene, it wouldn't have that fizzling now, would it? So I think these are all real-time cutscenes. Either way, the resolution... Yeah, again, the fizzling on the hair is a sign that that's real-time.
Gustav and Lune are deeply invested in the expedition, even if they fight all the time. To them, the mission is tied not only to their family, it's central to their identity and purpose.
Protocol doesn't cover every contingency. You know that.
Contrast that with Ciel, whose darkest days have already happened.
What are the stars whispering to you? Actually, I'm the one whispering to them. It's something my dad and I used to do.
And Maëlle, who cares more about really living her life, not just living longer.
Gustav, are you real?
It's not all dark, though. Along the way, they meet various colorful NPCs and recruit Monoko, who is a friendly but kinda bloodthirsty philosopher.
So yeah, again, though, yeah, they're definitely saving Doom for the end. I hope there's like one more game. I don't think there's going to be though. Again, I think that Ninja Gaiden like remaster remake was the surprise, like the additional surprise, the one that we didn't know about already.
He is a Jazz Troll, which are a group of playful beings.
Oh, Jazz! I hear that sax. Yo, I just thought of something. What's the musical style of Mario Kart 9 gonna be like? I mean, if they just kept doing the jazz thing, I'd be okay with that, because that music's pretty good, but... At the same time, though, it's clearly they want the game to be different, because the art style is more inspired by, like, World than Mario Kart 8 itself, so...
And if you bring him back his special stones, you can unlock abilities for him to access new areas of the world and find exciting secrets.
I'm strong, but I'm not that strong.
Everyone has their own reason for joining the expedition, and each of them has their own story arc and resolution that we think players will really connect with.
In addition to a strong narrative, we had a clear vision for our
got a whole piano in there.
core gameplay. Our reactive turn-based system takes the traditional turn-based battle mechanic.
Yeah, that UI, I just can't not see the metaphor in that, even though the game obviously has nothing to do with it otherwise.
Dodging or firing at the right time. But balancing turn-based with real-time mechanics took a long time to get right. During initial playtests, turn-based players often found the real-time elements too hard. Some of us are still traumatized by enemies from back then. We've done a lot of rebalancing since, and with a lot of iteration, we ultimately came up with a formula that we're proud of. Players who are good at real-time can take more risks, and others can counterbalance with items and strategies. A big part of that formula lies in the many ways...
Is the UI? I don't even think the UI is 4K. Now, granted, that could just be because of the footage they're using. I'm sure the actual game would have a 4K UI. It'd be pretty weird for a modern game to not have a 4K UI, regardless of what the actual resolution of the game itself is. This UI looks like a 1440p UI. It's not 1080, but it's not 4K, so I'll say 1440p.
But I'm pretty much the only one at the studio who plays it that way. Most people play her as a glass cannon with Gustav's...
Speaking of 4K UI, I didn't really think about this, but are Switch 2 games going to have a 4K UI? I hope they do, but I won't be surprised if they don't. But, you know, if the games are going to at least attempt a 4K looking image with DLSS, I feel like having a 4K UI would go a long way in making the game feel higher resolution, which might sound weird, but, like, I genuinely, like, that's something I think does matter. It's not the most important thing in the world, of course, but, you know, if you're going to have a console that can output a 4K signal, I'd like at least the UI in most games to be 4K, regardless of what resolution the game itself is. Just so it fits your 4K screen better.
We wanted something that feels chaotic, grungy, and toy-like. It's basically a bazaar, Everything's
How long is this supposed to be? I actually don't remember.
Huts are
What does it say?
built without much thought. It's a place where
It does not say.
point, which is pretty much what the Jestrels are like.
We're about 35 minutes in, I believe.
Jestral Village is hidden inside
Yeah, it's
the
10:34.
The ideas here were forest, labyrinth, and sentinels. I designed it as a vibrant place, like an old graveyard of Jestrels, or forgotten wooden toys in a box, with two main colors, red and white.
I know I said this when I did during my Switch 2 reaction, but I really hope that Nintendo starts doing 4K trailer uploads.
Minoko came in a single
Because again, if the console's going to support 4K, you may as well do 4K trailers, and also because the bitrate is just way better. So yeah, even if the game is still like a 1080p upscale or whatever, if the trailer's 4K, it'll look way better on YouTube.
Victorian pillows with many intricate motifs.
But knowing them, they're probably going to stick with 1080 for a while, regardless of what resolution the games are.
The project, there was one thing that we absolutely wanted to bring back from older JRPGs. A feature we really loved, but is very rare these days. A completely 3D...
Because Microsoft and Sony, they upload like all their trailers in 4K. For like all their first-party games, that is. You know, third-party, obviously, that's up to the developer, but for first-party titles, you know, they're all 4K trailers these days, at least like as far as I can remember.
As there's a lot of side paths and entire hidden levels.
You know, like when Mario Kart 9 gets like its full, you know, proper reveal, I'd really like it to be a 4K trailer so we could really analyze the quality in a proper way. Because obviously, trying to analyze the quality off of that little 5-second snippet in a 1080p compressed trailer is not ideal.
Expedition 33 launches on April 24th on Xbox Series X and S and is available day one with Xbox Game Pass. You can already wish the game and follow us for more info.
Okay, so that was this game. We're about to wrap it up with this game.
We are a small, passionate team. It's our debut game, and we can't wait for you to discover our story, our world, and our take on the turn-based genre. On behalf of everyone at Sunfall, thank you for joining us. Tomorrow comes.
Demain viendra.
Tomorrow comes.
Demain viendra.
Demain viendra.
Tomorrow comes.
So yeah, it is coming to PS5 as well, although I don't know if that's a third-party game or not. Okay, so here's the big one of the games that we already knew about anyway. Doom: The Dark Ages. Everyone's looking forward to this, myself included. Yeah, I liked, you know, Doom 2016 and Eternal were great. Although I think I liked Doom 2016 more, personally. But they're both good games, obviously. Now, of course, this game is not going to have Mick Gordon because of the whole thing that happened between them and id following Eternal, which is why Mick Gordon didn't return for the Eternal DLC. So I assume that the composers of the Eternal DLC are also going to be composing this. And this game is already confirmed to be multi-plat, by the way. This was confirmed, like, when they announced the thing in the Xbox event last year.
In the legendary Doom franchise. It is an honor to work on this game, to carry on its tradition of creating all-out, groundbreaking levels of fun. So now, we're excited to share with you...
It's funny how, like, that guy on, like, the left kind of looks like Phil Spencer. Like, discount Phil Spencer.
I was so stupid I mouthed the words.
And this game, obviously, is going to be, you know, 60 FPS. I mean, it's Doom. It's probably going to have 120 FPS mode, too, like Eternal did.
In Doom: The Dark Ages, you will feel like the superweapon in the center of a medieval war against hell. Set in a cinematic sci-fi fantasy world full of locations to explore, powerful weapons to unlock, and enemies to conquer. This is a prequel to Doom 2016, and that's given us the opportunity to realize
Okay, so it's a prequel.
aspect of this experience. So if you're new to the franchise,
Also, it's interesting how even they call it Doom 2016. That's what everyone calls it, but still.
you'll be proud to see, in a lot of ways, the feel of the game is really a return
Wait a second. Wait, was that oh my god, I don't know what the name of it is. I don't know the name of like almost any of the Scarlet and Violet Gen 9 Pokemon. I like know the names of like maybe like a couple of them. But that was the fire starter. I saw that. They just showed like a plushie of like the fire starter that I don't know the name of. I know the name of Sprigato because that's my favorite of the three. And also because it's the one that like Liko has in the new anime or whatever, or had because it evolved, which is breaking another tradition. Normally, you know, because you know Pikachu famously never evolved. We even had a whole episode about him specifically not wanting to be evolved with the stone or whatever, like way back in the day. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. But yeah, they had that big plushie, big plush of the fire starter of Scarlet and Violet. Wasn't expecting to see that at id, but sure, why not? So yeah, Doom 2016, Doom Eternal. Man, it's gonna be weird. Like how man, Z to A is gonna be kind of awkward now because it's like now we'll be seeing a Switch 1 game in what is now kind of the beginning of the Switch 2 era. Then again, then again, the Game Freak is not exactly known for amazing image quality even on the current Switch. Now are they? So I don't know. I hope that game turns out decently. I mean, people liked Arceus, even though it wasn't perfect. But people at least thought it was a step in the right direction. And then Scarlet and Violet came out and wiped away like any goodwill that game brought in, seemingly. The thing with Z to A that I'm most curious about, though, is what is the art style going to be and how are the characters going to look like? Because I still do not like the Scarlet and Violet, like a art style that makes the characters look less anime-like. I don't like that at all. It doesn't feel like Pokemon if they're not like specifically in that classic like art style that's clearly like supposed to be like cell shaded and anime-like. I hope they go back to like something that looks more. Ironically, I kind of want the game to look more like Sword and Shield than anything else. I mean, Sword and Shield has its issues, but the art style was not one of them. Just go back to that art style. I mean, better fidelity, obviously, but go back to that art style where everything looks the way it's supposed to, and not like this more realistic look that doesn't look nearly as good, and the characters don't look as good in general. But I'm getting off track here. Now, am I? It really is weird how I can talk about Pokemon for a long time, even though I'm not, like, really a Pokemon guy anymore. Like, I haven't played Pokemon actively since, like, the DS era, and yet I can sit here and talk about it for, like, hours. Like, what was it? The July 2024 Smash stream, the one that was the first time in forever, as the song that Jay made said, the first Smash stream in forever. That one I talked about Pokemon for a long time, even though I don't even play it really anymore. But I guess that shows how much I still care about it, that I can talk about it for that long. Even if I'm not actively invested in it and haven't like really played the games since like the DS era. I mean, I did play Sword and Shield just for the heck of it, and I thought it was fine, but obviously it could have been better. Okay, yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, oh, the UI in general, you can definitely tell, is very different. So that's cool, you know, customizability, and that's cool. Okay. Whoa, what the heck is this?
features are deep and tons of fun.
Well, that's cool.
And as cool as all that is, we know that fans of single-player action games expect more than just great combat to pull them through the experience. So we're excited to share with you not just the gunplay, but the world of Doom: The Dark Ages. Your hero's journey will take you to the far reaches of the Doom universe. Mysterious worlds from the Slayer's past, dark forests, dungeons.
I mean, personally, the story doesn't really matter to me. The story and the lore doesn't really matter to me in a Doom game. In fact, there's a famous quote from John Carmack from like 30 years ago when like the first Doom was being made, or like the first Quake. From that kind of golden age era of like Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, Doom 2, Quake 2. That 90s era of id that made them the studio they are today. I think that there's like a famous quote of like story in a Doom game is like story in a porn movie. It's like expected to be there, but it's not all that important or something, was like the quote. That's kind of unironically how I feel about that even to this day. Like, to me, Doom is, it's gun shooty kick enemy ass game. Everything else doesn't really matter to me. It's kind of the same way I feel about Splatoon. Right? Like, I know there's a lot of people like that. Like, I know there's a lot of Splatoon fans that like really care about like the lore and stuff, and like I just personally don't care about that. Splatoon is inky shooty game. That's all it is to me. I care about the gameplay, not the lore. Same way I feel about Doom. It's about the gameplay, not the lore.
Will be composed by the award-winning team at Finishing Move, providing you with a metal soundscape that's loaded with guitars, medieval vibes, and pure adrenaline. You'll feel like you're expanding the
They didn't say who specifically is making it, though. They just said that it's going to be made by a specific studio.
The story of Doom: The Dark Ages, like everything else in the game, is big. It's a summer blockbuster event with everything on the line.
Oh yeah, so when's it coming out? I think most of the games they've shown so far have been like spring. Is this going to be a spring title, like May or something, or is it going to be later? Because Eternal came out in March of 2020, I think. Famously it came out the same day as Animal Crossing, right? All the memes about Isabelle and Doomslayer. Windows 10?
We've got 10 years of making modern Doom games together, and we've done better with every game we've made.
The hope with all this, the goal, is to give players an experience that's as fun to play as it was to make, and make something that's good enough to become the best game id has ever made.
But that is for you to decide. When Doom: The Dark Ages releases
this May? Did I hear May? Okay, May. That sounds about right. And again, it will be on PlayStation as well. Okay, so is that it? Or is there one more? Okay, I think that's it. They're just doing the little, like, recap thing, yeah. So yeah, mostly first half of the year. So we got, so yeah, these games are April and May, and then the Ninja Gaiden 4, which is not a first-party game, granted, but still, that is fall. And all these games are on Game Pass, shocker, and also all these games are going to be on PlayStation as well, I think. Alrighty then. I guess that's that. Oh, it's not even cutting off. But it's not frozen because it's blinking, right? Alrighty then. So yeah, that was that. So yeah, that's pretty much alrighty then. So yeah, that's pretty much yeah. So Ninja Gaiden is coming back full force, new game, co-developed with Platinum, so that's gonna get people excited. And we even got that Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Again, I'm not sure if it's a remake or a remaster. It looks like a remake, or at least a remake in like the, you know, Xenoblade Definitive Edition / Crisis Core Reunion, where it's essentially a remake in all but name. So that's cool. Obviously, I would have liked to have seen Persona 6, but I'm guessing that's being saved for the June event, going off of the pattern of the last few years. But we'll see. I mean, obviously it's not going to come out this year. Atlas has already said that they don't have much planned for 2025. I'm sure they'll have something, but obviously they had a pretty substantial 2024. They had Persona 3 Reload, they had the Answer DLC, they had SMT5 Vengeance, which is multiplat, and then they had Metaphor. So they're probably going to have a relatively relaxed 2025. Maybe there'll be another spin-off or some other ports. But Persona 6 for 2026? That seems fairly likely, but we'll see, obviously. But yeah, so that's that. What are my overall thoughts? I mean, yeah, it was all right. I mean, obviously I didn't have any grand expectations. I mean, they literally told us what most of this event was going to be. You know, Doom looks cool. It's cool they're getting a new Ninja Gaiden, and I personally don't have any interest in South of Midnight or Expedition, but it's obviously cool that you know, they're going to be coming out in the next couple of months. You know, Microsoft, obviously, the more first-party games, the better, even though, again, we're kind of moving away from the exclusives mattering. I mean, it's kind of been like that for a while, but anyways, so yeah, that's that. I don't really have anything else to say. So I guess before we wrap things up here, what's going to be next? Well, I said this at the beginning of the stream. I want to do a Smash stream. We haven't done one. We haven't done like a proper Smash stream, like a Ultimate stream, that is, since September. And the last stream we did was in November for Smash Wii U's anniversary. I want to do another one sometime soon, but I want to do it when the new capture card comes in. I also have another capture card I can use, but again, we'll see. Oh, okay, there we go. Now it finally ended. But again, we'll see. We'll see. Oh yeah, and I guess just as a random kind of thing here, let's go back to the Switch trailer really quick, and you'll see that the current number is 19.3 million views. So yeah, I don't know how much that compares to the Switch trailer when it first came out, but obviously the trailer's done pretty well for itself. Shocker, it's almost like it's an anticipated console or something. It's even got 1 million likes and 24k dislikes. Sorry, 27k dislikes, although I'm not entirely sure how accurate that is, because of course the dislike thing famously got removed a few years ago, and now you gotta use the plugin to bring it back, but the plugin is based off of extrapolated data from people that have the plugin, so this obviously isn't 100% accurate, but obviously the vast majority of people obviously liked it. That is for certain, but anyways. But yeah, Switch 2. I'm not going to rehash the Switch 2 discussion again. If you want to see my thoughts on the Switch 2 reveal, go watch my reaction video. I put it out when it happened. Yeah, so that is that. So again, thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for probably a Smash stream sometime in the next few days or week. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll do it later today. Who knows? But I do want to do another Smash stream. I haven't done one in a while. Outside of that, though, there is some other stuff I want to do, obviously, but also obviously, you know, who knows if any of it actually materializes. Now that the Switch 2 is actually revealed, though, I think I might finally make that Switch 2 video. But I'm going to cover mainly things that haven't been talked about too much. Because, like, basically, we're not going to focus on the hardware much, because the hardware is a known quantity, and we know what the thing looks like. And we basically know what the specs are, even though, obviously, Nintendo hasn't said that themselves. So I'm going to focus on, like, software features and stuff like that, probably, as well as just general things I want to see from that era in general. And I've already started working on it. And ironically, this might sound weird, but if I work on a script in WordPress, I like it more than if I just do it in Word itself, which is kind of odd. But hey, if it works, it works. And hey, if for some reason I try recording it and it doesn't really work out, hey, I can at least put it up as a blog post, so the blog can actually have a purpose. I haven't posted the blog in a long time. It's never really been a mainstay by any means, but it has existed for quite some time. But that's a whole other conversation. Point is, Smash stream coming sometime soon, probably, and maybe I'll finally get around to doing a Switch 2 video of some kind or something. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, again, thank you all for watching. And with that being said, this is Logan59XP, and I'll see you guys next time.